Hi, I'm Akhil.
And I'm Rohan Nahar.
Welcome to The Long Take. This week we're discussing Pathaan, the new Shah Rukh Khan movie in ages. Ages for me at least, because I haven't seen like an SRK movie in forever. I feel like it's like Mission Impossible meet James Bond meets Fast and Furious, although there's like no family nonsense. So I guess but I guess in the action sense. Yeah, what do you make of SRK's return to the big screen, Rohan?
I actually went in expecting not much, which is fair. But then I almost immediately started having a really good time. And by the end, I was like fully into it, despite,
Right.
in spite of myself and despite all the nonsense that was on the screen.
There's a lot of nonsense.
There's a lot of nonsense
that the movie throws at you.
But mostly it's aware of the nonsense. There's a self-awareness which is very evident, which I appreciate.
I think it's aware like in some parts. I'm not sure. I feel like it's half and half. Like when they're trying to be like sincere and kind of make those, Desh Bhakti and what the villain's plan is, then they're being very serious. Yeah. And then sometimes you're like, well, that's funny, like how you're going about it. Like how I'm gonna tie 2 helicopters to the I don't know, a car. I'm just like, they're trying to be serious about that. They're not saying, oh look, this is a joke and this is a stupid movie. But yeah, you're right. In some places, like they are. I feel especially like once, like I think Salman Khan shows up, like they're quite self-aware about it.
Yeah, that entire scene is played comedically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's true for like Bollywood movies of this nature, right? That the tone shifts like in every 10 minutes. So there are like stretches where it's like completely earnest and he's saving like Afghan children and then being adopted as like...
Yeah, there's a lot of like mini flashbacks thrown everywhere to like explain things and give us like more insight and like make us like whatever feel for people, right? Every time your character shows up, like oh, Deepika's here, Deepika flashback. Oh look, John Williams here, John Williams flashback.
Yeah.
This is like they do a lot of that.
And I mean, I don't know if you saw War. But War, the entire...
I didn't. I think I saw like War like while passing by my living room while my dad was watching it. And it looked like the action looked like way over like the top and comedic, which I guess even this one is. But like I think that one was worse.
It was worse. It was also, I mean, this one...
Like Tiger Shroff was jumping around. I was like, how many wires is he on?
Yeah, that one was less refined. I mean, this isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but at least there was some sequences where I actually admired like the scene construction and all, like despite the...
I think the initial ones actually, I think were actually more impressive to me, especially, the one they were sort of tying like the camera to like weapons and stuff, how the shotgun would move around.
Yeah.
And like those, like the first one, his intro one is actually a thing in terms of like imagination or whatever, innovativeness. That one's really interesting.
Visually, it's impressive.
But then they start to get...
But like as it goes along, like I really found myself being drawn into like the final climax situation, because he's
on the lake.
No, not the lake. The climax, like the end, where he's actually doing something very difficult, right? He's juggling at least 4 different action scenes together. And yahan par, these guys can barely handle one. So for him to kind of handle 4 and for me to be invested in all 4 of them, not equally, but considerably. Like I was invested in their, the one-on-one fist fight that they were having in the whatever cabin. Then there was the flight, the aircraft that had the whatever poison that needed to be saved. Then there's Deepika Padukone who's fighting in the cave, and then there's the reactions of the Luthra person in whatever headquarters. So all that he's juggling, and he set up the stakes kind of niftily, So I was following along and everything, and that was very impressively done. Like obviously the thing looked bad.
Yeah, and it like the logic didn't make sense. Like that was pulling me, I think, out of the story. I was like, why would you behave like a 1960s Bond villain and carry the diffuser on yourself and then tell the hero that this is what you need to do? I was like, what? Why are you giving it away?
But by then though it was established, right? That was what he was like. I found that was annoying the first time he did it in Dubai, where he like he rams into his car and then delivers like this entire "मैं ये हूँ, मैं वो था."
Yeah, I was like,
पहले,
and the
और
entire
अब मैं-
sequence what I found funny was like the Dubai police never shows up. They're just like, yeah,
Nobody shows
we're
up.
just like, we're gonna let like 2 foreign agencies just like have their way with our city, have fun.
Yeah, nobody's there. Not a single pedestrian is there. Nobody cares. Like, it's just we cordoned off that street to shoot plates and then forgot about
including the locals,
adding,
you know. Like, I mean, yeah, that's what like
CG
the moment I
people.
went to Dubai, I was like, oh, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. And I was like, that one, you know, they had at least like the locals, like police, like trying to intervene, failing, but at least trying to intervene.
Yeah. Here they forgot to just add like CGI.
like, हाँ नहीं वो कोई है ही नहीं, ये हमारा देश है basically. Now it's the same thing which happens like everywhere is that they go to like Russia and they start speaking Hindi. I'm like, bro, उसको नहीं समझ आ रहा है. Why are you talking Hindi?
No, the funniest was when one Russian, like whatever, general or something is standing and he's talking.
He talks back in Hindi, I think.
Yeah, he talks back in Hindi and Dimple Kapadia's initial response is in English. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
I'm like, decide what your language is. Eventually, the prisoners, they figure out, they're like, oh yeah, this must be in Russian. So the prisoners are all speaking Russian. But like they conveniently or inconveniently forgot that everyone else should be talking in Russian or English. Like, no, Hindi cannot be the common language here.
So see, with the the villain character, like the first time I was annoyed, like, why are you doing this? This is so old-fashioned Bond villain behavior. But by the end, I was like, "Acha, theek hai, this is what you do, right?" So I'm guessing I was like the internal logic of it had kind of settled in my mind, where it didn't strike me as odd anymore. And I knew that a lot of things that the movie was doing was very deliberately to set up like some pardafash. Right.
Yeah.
Like
after a point you were like, you're doing so many twists in my face. Like, and now I'm expecting when the next twist is coming. I'm waiting for it.
Which is why when the detonator is on his body, I'm like, oh, of course there's the reason why he's like literally pointing it out, like directing your attention.
He's giving you the end game. He's like, this is how you bring the movie to a closure.
And when he did it, when he like, you know, gets stabbed and everything, and then he like sneakily like steals it from him or whatever, like my crowd erupted, you know. And I think
my crowd erupted, I think the biggest moment of like weirdly was like Salman's introduction, like not like any of the other like introductions, but Salman's introduction, my crowd was like, I was like, what, really, that's what?
I mean, that's fairly obvious, right? Like, if anything you're going to erupt at, us pe to karenge. But mine was like start to finish.
I didn't even get the reference because I haven't seen any of the Tiger movies, right? So his introduction is like his iconic whatever, not iconic, it's like trademark, like Gamcha comes down the chute, and I'm like, what is happening? Why are people going crazy?
It's also like Doctor Strange this thing, because it's fully CG and like he's using it to like
he's using it like way more like powerful. Like I was like, one, it's just like a handkerchief like modified. How can you have such like torque with it that you can wrap it around people and drag it towards you? But whatever, like at this point, like that's what, like I can, once you've seen enough Fast and Furious movies, like, and you see like a similar movie, like, I'm just like, I'm giving them like my suspension of like, this belief has happened. I'm like, okay, you can do this nonsense. You can, you can, they do the same thing, right? Like, imagine, literally there was a sequence in one of the Fast and Furious, right? Where like Vin Diesel and Paul Walker like are running on the top of the train and they jump and they catch it. They literally like did the same scene. I'm like, I'll buy this now because that's the level of like opera you are operating on now.
Exactly. That scene is a good indication of the film's insanity, like how over the top it's willing to go and to
just ran across the entire train.
And you know, and it's very deliberately, it's almost like one of those Marvel like endgame situations, right, where he has constructed those applause breaks, right, those splash pages from comic books that happen when they're like together in the same frame and it becomes slow-mo. And then you're meant to clap there. And like, I think, especially in a movie like this, the crowd involvement, like in Endgame or whatever, is very important and it really kind of impacts your viewing experience, right? Because my crowd was like start to finish into it. Like, people danced at the end. So,
I think it depends also like where you go and what time you go.
Exactly.
Like mine was like a morning crowd. So I think like people didn't have enough coffee to like go that crazy.
So mine was like Friday evening crowds just after work.
So that is like, they're ready. They've gone through like a terrible week. Like they want something in their life right now.
Yeah, and they were so happy. And like, I was, like I said, like I went in thinking, oh my God, this is the war person. He doesn't know what he's doing. And then I came out thinking, oh, like there I can spot considerable like improvements in his craft here. And, obviously they're not working on very high budgets. So they're high budgets for Hindi movies, but like generally speaking. So I can't
Which is why
really,
so much of the action, if you notice, is like extreme close-ups, right? Like he can't, I think, almost afford to pull back because then the VFX work will become like 4x or something in the scene.
And
so it's like, oh look, Shah Rukh ka face and then punches around him, John ka face and punches around him. We can't like pull back. Hello, sorry, we don't have the budget.
And when they do pull back, it's considerably worse, right? Like the hand-to-hand stuff is much better as compared to like the heist stuff in the planes and like the one that we just spoke about.
Yeah. Every helicopter is fake except the only helicopter I think that is real is the one that arrives in, where do they go? Spain.
The one the John escapes in, right?
Yeah, the Spain one where it lands in the grass and takes off. Like that one felt very real. Every military helicopter is fake. There's also a shot
of John inside the helicopter, so that sold the kind of realness more. It felt like acha, but everything else is fake.
Yeah, and it's like they don't. I guess it's just money and like resources, basically time. I guess so they don't really have that. To generate like you can generate a proper CG helicopter which like you cannot distinguish. So Top Gun Maverick's like final climax, the entire like fight is full CGI because you actually don't have a F-14 which can fly with F-18s or whatever fifth in fight. So they had to make it in CG. Even in the film known for doing real stuff had to do an entire sequence with CGI planes. So if they can pull it off, it can be done. The only problem is they don't have the time and resources and the money.
So I was kind of torn about this entire thing because a part of me is like, I can tell it's fake and that's kind of annoying me over and over again. The movie is kind of pulling me back because it's so ridiculous and because nothing is too long. Every scene is like relatively short.
So it moves along. Like level cut.
Yeah. But then I also started thinking, why are you doing this, right? Why is your finale? Why does it have jetpack race? Why do you need that?
Why is there a conveniently second jetpack for the hero?
Why do you need that, right? If you needed to have some sort of chase, you've done whatever. I know you've done on the frozen lake and this, that. You've had a fist fight. You've had multiple showdowns already. And you need one more. And you're going to build towards another one. But why would you do that, which is so obviously knuckly, right? It takes you out immediately. And then obviously, again, like I'm saying, I was into it when they started fighting in the cabin. But then it did take a certain level of, let's get this done with so that we can get to the real thing. So I don't know why they keep doing it, even though they know they can't really pull it off perfectly. It's just one of those things.
You're putting yourself in situations where your lack of time and money is like gonna be like shown on screen.
You don't need to. I don't understand why.
Yeah, they could have just gone from like the cave or whatever to the house in some other manner. In like, but it's almost like they want to show off, right? It's almost like they're trying to make the movie as big as possible while still operating on a budget that doesn't really allow for that.
Yeah.
It's like because that's the thing. I think action movies are done that way, right? Like they almost come up with the scenes before and then you stitch them together with whatever story and justification you need to give. It's like Dubai set piece, Jetpack set piece, like Lake set piece, uske pehle like
which is what I think I've mentioned this before. It's like Abhishek Bachchan breaking down YRF formula. He was like action, song, comedy, action, and thankfully Ace mein ek hi gana tha. It was kind of shocking.
Second one is just like a Aladdin style like ending.
DJ college shows.
I don't know why I thought of Aladdin, but like because Bollywood does it all the time. I just I don't watch it on Bollywood stuff. I guess it's just weird because like that also like breaks the immersion, right? You end on a very like serious note. You just like stop like people from being blown up, and then uske like 2 seconds baad like last time we saw Deepika before that was like she was beating people in a cave, and then you're like, oh look, they're like dancing around again. I'm like, are there agencies like not really caring what is happening, or is this like a dream sequence? Like what is happening?
I mean, see, at like 2.5 hour ke baad, I'm no longer questioning that.
I don't know. I feel like the thing is because they're not like making the entire movie like that crazy, right? Like they're trying to like keep it grounded in some way. Like there are stakes involved, there are real people involved who are being sincere. So I feel like I expect some level of, I don't know why I expect it, but I think I expect like some level of like consistency and like don't break character in such a weird manner. Like even the first time he shows up in Spain, they're literally like, why do you need to introduce her through an item song?
I mean, see, there is no.
Why can't you just be introduced like in some other way?
There is no. You're either on board with the songs or you're not. Like, I really have stopped trying to figure out the logic of why they have these songs.
I mean, no, I know why they have these songs because
like in the story, like I don't
in the story, no, but like I think for me, like I'm always want the director and the writers to find like an organic way to do it, like put the thing in a club, and then I'm like, yeah, sure, there are songs in clubs, so I accept it. But like, don't put the thing on a random island and people are dancing and singing. Spain, they're singing a Hindi song. I'm like, why would anyone do that?
Okay, so I just assumed that it was like some sort of dance party because there was a band involved or whatever. So that is what I kind of
right. Yeah.
thought.
I mean, I think it's a minor thing. I can like get over it.
Yeah. What was I saying?
But like, yeah, in now that we heard, like, what do you make of like Deepika's character, like overall, her involvement and how she's handled?
I actually thought it was engaging. Like, I thought initially, obviously, it's very like familiar territory, right? Because you know what's going to happen. You know she's going to backstab someone maybe twice, thrice, whatever. It's like Abbas Mustan race 2 or whatever, you know. So I was expecting that, but then just like once you kind of get settled into the movie and its themes and what they kind of do with the character, I was kind of impressed because she is after all a Pakistani, right? And that in itself, to have like a, you know, like a romantic thing is making a point. Then to have her betray your lead character is making another point. To have your lead character forgive her and give her a second chance, you're pushing that further, right? And by the end, I'll tell you the most impressive moment, and it involves like the crowd also. So I don't know if it was similar for you. Then in the final whatever action scene where Pathaan and John Abraham are fighting and Deepika's in the cave, she gets her hands on one of those machine guns, right?
Yeah.
And
then it's like a very like, it's almost like a hero introduction shot at like a very late stage. Yeah. Intentional.
Correct. It's just, designed to be her grand, you know, here it is, right? And my crowd erupted and I looked at my friend side and I was like, oh, so we are now fully cheering for Pakistani agent. And then I thought about it in my head. I was like, oh,
they achieved that.
This movie is just pulled off a crazy thing and deliberately, right? Because that is what the movie is about.
Yeah, I think that's what the movie is about. Like, that's what I want to discuss. Is like eventually, which is why like they don't let it go there, right? Like there's one thing to like just do the India-Pakistan thing, but they don't stop there. Like the whole Afghanistan thing is very, very intentional to introduce that backstory, to give like, you know, Pathaan that backstory and then to make him like their pseudo family or whatever. Like that is very, very intentional. And these things are like, it's almost like they're taking aim at those things, right? It's like, like this is, I mean, sure, there are like people who are trying to like screw things up, you know, from both ends or whatever, like their end. But then there are
not people, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but then there are people like in these organizations who like don't believe in these causes and they're just like, finally it's like depends on individual people and like those are redeemable. You don't have to like, because that's what like politicians do is like they paint countries in shades, right? They don't care about the individuals because that's how it benefits them. I think that's what this movie is doing well, is that it's going down to the like person, individual level and being like, we need to be like whatever, brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter like what people above us are doing.
Correct. So in the Afghanistan thing, it's civilians, right? And those civilians are obviously, we know what the Taliban is doing in Afghanistan, but it's stupid to be like Afghanistan pura ka pura is Taliban, right? It's not true. And we saw, that's what the movie is saying, right? Janta is suffering. The Aam Janta. And I really liked that the Janta was involved in the plot, like in the probably the craziest twist.
Yeah, they found a way. They were like, oh, because they basically like, I think it's written backwards in a way, but yeah.
So I like that. And then I really like that this person is an ex-ISI agent who is basically doing her job, right? It's not like they're not, they're not like skirting around that fact. They're not trying to say that this person has gone rogue. They're not trying to say this person is mercenary, independent, this, that. No, this person is a Pakistani who used to be an agent. And I thought that was insane. And that, again, like...
And that's like the closest you can get now, right? Because of the way our country's being run, you can't get actual Pakistani actors anymore. Like there was a time where we couldn't do that, where Fawad Khan was starring in movies. And then if that had continued, like today, you could have probably had like a Pakistani actress playing this role, like which would have been amazing. But because we cannot have that. This is the
2 films ago, Shah Rukh had a Pakistani co-star.
Yeah. So this is the closest we can get to now.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of impressive because just before that we see this person, Deepika Padukone's character, being tortured by the Indian authorities.
Yeah, she's literally being waterboarded.
So I thought to myself in that moment also, I was like, agar ye 0-30 hota, I would have been a huge controversy. Like, how can you show, कि हमने ऐसे किया है or whatever, just imply it also that we are the ones who are evil in this scene because your sympathies are already with this person.
Yeah, you established that. No, so now at this point, like when he starts beating up Indian agents, like he says sorry before it, obviously, because he's
Pathaan.
But
he's beating up Indian agents to save a
Pakistani
person.
He's beating up Indian agents to free a Pakistani woman.
This is crazy. What? In a movie this size, it's huge subversion, and yeah, like Tarantino would be really impressed. He was impressed Joker mein end mein kya hua tha. He would be really impressed with this. Like, how do you trick an entire audience, an entire country to kind of, and you can't deny it, right? Once you've cheered, you're like, oh shit, like I've cheered now. How do you go back? Like, it just proves that, yeah, if you humanize, quote unquote, the villain, the evil enemy enough, there's no difference, right? And I thought that was kind of a major move.
Now that you mentioned that, like I'm thinking about, like, I mean, the movie never, I think they don't have time to it, but like there's like one dialogue for, like, I mean, obviously, like Jim is given backstory for you to like sort of empathize with the character, even if you can't like relate to him after a point because you're just like, what is he doing? But like he's given one line late into the movie when they're in the cave, not the cave, but the scientist ka room, and where I think the scientist, whatever, like the sales tells to him like, what kind of country like you like do this for? And he says like country is for like weak people, right? Like that's how they brainwash you.
Yeah, the borders were aligned, right?
Yeah, I was like, you've hit at like a very insane thing here. Like, because in a way, you're literally targeting all nationalists out there because that's what people do, right? Patriotism means like you love your country, but you also like are open to like noticing its flaws. Nationalism is blind faith for the country, right? And in that moment, he hits at that. And I was like, I wish this movie, like obviously it's an over-the-top action movie like Fast and Furious, so it doesn't have time, but I wish like they had time to explore that because that moment, literally, I was like, oh wait, right now I'm with Jim now. Because he said literally something.
Which is what I'm saying, right? The movie it appears to be stupid, but it's very knowing in a lot of things, right? It knows when it's stupid and it knows when it's serious. And in scenes like this, and just the suggestion that, Jim was kind of left for dead by the authorities, right? And Pathaan confronts his superior. Why did you do it? Why couldn't you afford to pay? You could afford.
Why can't we? If you can afford to pay for ministers,
right? And he does it, and it's an acknowledgement on screen. The movie is taking a stance right now, right? And again, Indian authorities are in the wrong, which is again major. It's operating on 2 levels, right? So one is a very obvious meta-ness of it, which is like खौफ से ये वो होता है, लोगों के दिमाग में, which is on the nose, right? Then there is stuff like this, which is like visually and like thematically, it's kind of sneaking in and kind of making the points that it wants to make, that not everybody is going to catch on to, right? Especially like the audience that this movie is targeting. So it's giving them what they want. It's giving them a little more than what they probably expected. But then it also has this very strong identity, right? Which is kind of ironic because main character ka identity nahi hai. Or I don't know if it's deliberate or not, but he's like, I'm this, whatever, Hindustan ka beta types,
Yeah. I think that's deliberate probably. Like, this is what happens. I think we've spoken about this before, is that like writers intentionally sort of like make them like an empty vessel so that anyone can picture themselves.
Which is fair. It's fair because Bond does it, Ethan Hunt does it, whatever.
Yeah.
It's fair. And like in one scene, Deepika asks him, right, are you Muslim? Which is again like a very pointed and direct,
which kicks off the entire Afghan backstory.
Pointed and direct question.
And in that sense, in a way, it's like bolder than what you just mentioned, right? Bond or Ethan Hunt, because like they are proper, like they are the they are the standard. Like Ethan Hunt is the white male American, like that's what there's millions of them in America, and Bond is a white male, like British guy. Like there's so many of there. So like those are actually in a way more empty vessels. Like if you by giving him this complicated backstory where you've told like he's gone to like Afghanistan and now he's like whatever, he's converted up in a way because he sort of adopted another family. You're trying you're fleshing him out in a way that many people might not now like relate. Like wait what? Like he did what?
I mean, so the movie doesn't say it, but it's fully possible that he wasn't a Muslim, right?
Yeah.
And he became one after he was adopted.
Because we don't know his actual name.
We don't, right? And then
which is clever, right? Like you've hidden that.
So this
he's just Pathaan, that which is the name given to him like in 2002. Like uske pehle kya tha, we have no idea.
We have no idea, right? He could be anybody, and just the fact that he's decided to retain that name, right? And he says that he keeps returning to them
retain to a level that, you know, like everyone who worked with him before that, like still is now calling him Pathaan. Nobody ever breaks that and like calls him by his older name.
He is Pathaan now, right? And he says that मैं हर ईद पे जाता हूँ उनको मिलने, you know, which is another this thing, and all of it, like the other side of this backstory is the Shah Rukhness, right? मुझे movie theater पे छोड़ दिया था.
Yeah, that was the first meta reference I think they did, and obviously they went like
full meta at the end, right?
On the nose with it in the mid-credit scene. Yeah. That was pure intentional like meta.
I would in fact argue that the opening scene is also kind of meta when he's getting beaten up.
Right.
He's getting beaten up and he's like, you know, I'm still alive, which is very like Tom Cruise Maverick.
Yeah.
Which is a running theme of this movie also, right? You like, I'm not going anywhere types. Which is fun, you know. It's all tied together nicely, like not dangling or anything, not like a half suggestion that they kind of forget.
I mean, like, the mid-credit scene in a way almost like I have like sort of two feelings about it. Like one, obviously, it's like I like such like sort of commentary where, you know, like you comment and just like your movie is now something like beyond the screen. You're sort of like commenting on the industry itself. But in another way, it's almost like sad that we don't have anyone. It's almost like they have to be there. Like what is Bollywood literally? Like if you start taking apart Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Amir Khan, these guys.
It goes up and down, right? Like I'm sure like 5 years ago, people were like, ye log bhi nahi hai ab. Right. So I think it just depends on the material and if you're willing to have fun with it, right? These people are both coming off like flops and they are aware that their star is fading. So for them to kind of relax and overconfidence, right? Like, yeah, we know we're going to have bad days, but we also know that we're far superior. We're bigger than whatever 5-year lull that we've gone through, which itself is kind of the aura of stardom, right?
Yeah, and for me, it's like the gap is much longer. I literally cannot remember what Shah Rukh Khan movie I lost. So I feel like it's been like the entire 2010s. I don't think I saw a single one.
Oh, like a couple of them are very like he's been experimenting, right, in the last decade.
Yeah. I know he's been experimenting, but like everything I read was like his experimentations were like not really working. So I literally did not touch anything, I think, in the 2010s.
It's actually a nice run. Like a few of them are terrible, but like Fan is a very, very weird thriller.
Yeah, like when I just know the premise and I was like, that's interesting. But then all the reactions I read were like...
Yeah, which is nicely, it's a slick thriller. It's not long also. And Zero is like, I will defend Zero to whoever like challenges me. That is
I read like some very like strong
people
opinions
hate Zero.
About like how they handled like Anushka Sharma's character, and I was like, okay,
that's all kind of insane in that movie. But the movie itself is just like this huge like heart on your sleeve kind of romance.
Yeah, I don't think
that's
which
like a monkey goes to Mars or whatever, like insane stuff. Yeah. He goes to Mars and he comes back, and he's a small town dwarf who kind of has a love affair with Anushka Sharma, who's like this scientist.
And like she's in a wheelchair, right? And I read like the way they handled that was not well.
Yeah, it's fully insane. But the effects are more convincing than anything in this movie, which is kind of weird, backward. Anyway. Yeah.
It also depends on like who's working on it, right? This one is more, I think, Yash Raj VFX. They are the lead studio on it.
I think in that movie also it's
Zero. I think Red Chilli.
Yeah, very like invisible VFX. Like it's not like flashy gunfire and stuff which you can tell.
Yeah, you don't have to show like entire helicopters. I'm sure in Zero.
So it's mostly like how to make him small and just like that kind of stuff.
Right.
But in this one, it's probably the most annoying thing about it, the movie, the visual effects, and like I didn't like the villain. Or actually, I should rephrase that. I didn't like the performance. The villain itself is okay, but you need like
I think the performance is what the director is demanding. I don't think I'm blaming John Abraham for that.
No, I'm fully blaming John Abraham because see, it's a exposition situation, right? It's a villain, and I'm not faulting the exposition. I know that you're going to have to do it because that's the kind of movie this is. But then you need an actor who can pull off the exposition and make it smooth because you're going to have it either way, right? This guy can't pull off the exposition. It like the movie literally grinds to a halt every time he opens his mouth.
Yeah, I think I just I've blanked out on those parts. Exactly. I prefer my villains to be just like quiet characters who like do their job well.
And he's not supposed to be like they've designed.
Because that's how you like start believing that like in their threats, right? Like when a villain pulls off their like whatever plans initially, at least I mean they can only pull it off like 3 quarters because eventually they have to lose. But when a villain like genuinely like does like good things, like in like good things in sense like what they're doing, they pull it off properly. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a credible person. I'm afraid of now. So I prefer just my villains to do their job quietly, not like talk about it all the time.
Yeah, it's not required, but if you're going to have it, it needs to be smoother. And my whole thing is this person is supposed to be a mastermind, not a brawler. So why are you leaning into the brawler side of his personality? वो तो कोई भी कर सकता है. What you need is someone who can convincingly
outsmart the hero to a level that they never have to get him into a brawler situation.
Right, which is the character, right? He is huge, which is why you have him in fight scenes. But he can very easily be this mastermind who's playing everybody because of his whatever personal reasons. As you need like, I think that was the only thing that kind of really annoyed me about it. Otherwise, I was in for it. I had fun.
Are you looking forward to the? I don't know. Will they be able to pull it off? Like I don't have any trust in them to like actually manage it. Like that's what they're trying to do, right? The plan is, I'm guessing, to get everyone in one movie, like an Avengers kind, but. Like, aren't these guys too old to like make a movie? Like, by the time YRF comes up with a script.
I mean, see, this is proof of concept,
and you get like everyone's schedules in like order.
No, so this will be priority for everybody because I think Tiger 3 is almost done, right? It's going to be out like in a few months.
Right.
And he's already in it, so that's coming, that's happening. And uske baad I'm guessing, Hrithik.
So then the Tiger 3 has to set up, right? That movie.
The Tiger 3 will probably have Hrithik, right?
Right.
Also. And then
it has to set basically whatever mid-credit scene has to set up like the next one movie.
Because I've already mentioned that character several times in this one, and obviously
Salman Kabir is the guy, right? Like, I haven't seen the movie. But I kept like every time they kept seeing Kabir, I was like, okay, that has to be Hrithik, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Kabir is Hrithik, and Ashutosh Rana is in War also.
Right.
So he's the same. He's the Nick Fury, I guess.
And they gave like Shah Rukh Khan basically like Iron Man status because he's like leading the team.
Yeah. I mean, it's so stupid because Salman Khan energy is very different from Shah Rukh Khan energy, and it's very funny almost. I don't know if an entire movie can survive that. They're so different.
Like, I feel like you'll have to like separate them into like, like how missions get divided, and then Salman is doing his thing and stopping someone, and Shah Rukh Khan is just doing it. I don't think you can bring them. Like imagine like Hrithik, Shah Rukh and Salman. I don't know how that scene will work. 3 of them. It'll take like a genius director to handle that.
Like even 10 minutes this was fun, but I was like, okay, fine. Like they can't sustain this longer because you can tell that Bhai is not interested.
I was really like happy that they came up with a reason and were like, he has his own mission, he needs to.
But I guess the Tiger movies are terrible, so I don't really know now what to expect of the third one.
It depends on like who you're giving them to, right?
The guy who made Fan is making that one.
Oh. Okay, that's not really a good advertisement for Fan now for me to watch it.
But he's also like YRF in-house hand, right? So I guess.
I mean, this is also a YRF in-house. Like this guy who made this is who made War. Like you just carrying on the same person. You like.
Yeah, it's like 40s studio system.
I don't want to like really like broaden the space right now. Like just nahi kara, like you did good enough. Like tu bhi kar le. So there's basically a chance that this guy will make the Avengers level movie as well.
And like if he has a similar kind of leveling up as he did from war to this one in the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
Then yeah. So
do like less VFX stuff and improve your action.
I mean, that's asking for too much. I think they'll do more VFX now.
Okay. I think time to wrap it up.
Yep.
That's all for this episode of The Long Take. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at thelongtakepod. You can write to us at thelongtakepod@gmail.com. Please leave us a rating and a review. Wait till this episode, and we will see you next week.